I grew up loving games just like Genotype, the new single-player, story-based first-person shooter from Bolverk Games. Playing games like the Metroid Prime series, GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, and Turok were highlights of my young gaming life, so I love to see a game in that mode in VR. Genotype very much feels like a love letter to those games, especially Metroid Prime. Today I'm giving you my spoiler-free review of Genotype. This is easily Bolverk Games' most ambitious VR title to date, with the previous entries being Dick Wild 1 and 2 and Kittypocalypse. Most of the footage you'll see in this is from the Quest 2 version of the game, as I did not yet have my Quest 3 when I did my playthrough. I did go back and record some on the Quest 3, so you'll see that at the end when I give my final thoughts. In Genotype, you play as Evely, an intern working at a weather station in Antarctica. During a routine expedition, you crash into the Snowdrop Initiative, an abandoned laboratory overrun by genetically modified creatures. The only other human in the facility is a survivor named William, who communicates with you via radio. I'll spoil one early plot point because it's pretty important to the story, and you'll find out minutes into the game anyway. You're dying. Your presence there has infected you with whatever killed the other humans in the facility. William tells you to collect 9 DNA samples around the facility to create a cure and save yourself. I appreciated this story point because too often games, especially VR games, forget to explain your motivation for why you're doing what you're doing. Your weapons are the Grade Gloves, portable 3D printers that print brainless organisms on your dominant hand with various abilities. As you find blueprints for more creatures, you'll switch between them using a ripcord. This is ripped straight from Bone Lab, but frankly, I like that mechanic and I'm happy to use it again here. These abilities break down into 2 categories, shooting or utility. Like any shooter, you'll quickly lock on to 1 or 2 weapons that you enjoy and stick to restocking the ammo for the ones you prefer. The utilities include one called the Praying Link that when fired, transforms your body into a tiny creature that allows you to navigate vents to reach rooms you can't get to in your human form. I love this mechanic. It felt like a homage to the Morph Ball from Metroid. Your non-dominant hand acts as a fuel center. You can attach canisters of ammo, health, and data like the aforementioned DNA samples and facility key cards. Then you simply hold trigger to drain the canisters of whatever it contains. It's all really well crafted, though in the heat of combat, it was challenging to switch weapons when I ran out of ammo while trying to avoid getting hit. There are 5 major areas in the facility, but mercifully there is a fast travel system built into the game via teleportation units called tube linkers. This saves you from tediously backtracking like in your typical Metroidvania. There are also multiple terminals to save your game and upgrade stations to upgrade your equipment and 3D print more ammo and health. There are 3 types of currency in the game for the upgrade terminal. This inherently forces you into inventory management. Creatures don't infinitely spawn in this game, so it's impossible to max out your ammo and keep your inventory full of health or extras like mini rockets. You can't get every upgrade in a single playthrough, so you have to pick what works best for your playstyle. Graphically, the game is on the upper echelon of what can be accomplished on the Quest 2. This is not on the level of Red Matter 2 on Hubris, which I consider to be the pinnacle of Quest 2 graphics, but Genotype still looks really good. You can see the hallmarks of Quest 2 games like lack of shadows on the enemies and reduced draw distance, but especially in the outside areas, it made sense to have limited visibility in Antarctica where wind is constantly blowing snow around. Still, I thought the creature designs were good, both the ones you print and the ones you fight. In terms of gameplay, Genotype does switch things up. The first 2 facilities are pretty straightforward and feel like walking tutorials, but later areas involve swimming while using air bubbles to keep your oxygen level up. There's no jumping or climbing in Genotype, but it manages to keep things interesting and well paced. The sound design is workmanlike. The music is kept pretty low key, but that does fit the vibe of the game. It does pick up in heavy action moments, which was a nice little touch. However, a lot of the enemies make the same sounds, and the voice acting, especially Williams, is just kinda there. One of the failings is the AI of the enemies. They all either fire projectiles at you or just lunge at you. If you have any experience in first-person gaming, particularly in VR, none of the combat here will truly challenge you. Like I said earlier, the ripcord system got a little bit cumbersome if you were in the middle of a fight, but other than that, it's your standard circle and dodge while return fire combat system. There are larger creatures in the game that I wouldn't go as far as to call them boss fights, they're just bigger with more health. I took about 8 hours to complete the game, and that's without fully exploring each area. The only other shortcoming were the bugs, and I don't mean the ones you fight in the game. Performance wise, the game ran pretty smoothly. I did have slight frame rate issues when there were a lot of enemies in the room, and I was constantly turning and moving around, but part of that could be chalked up to the fact that I was recording the entire time. One major bug I did run into was the refill canisters. Sometimes you would get less than what the canister is supposed to give, or in the case of the health canisters, nothing at all. This wasn't game breaking, but I did run out of ammo a few times because a canister was supposed to give me 35 and instead I got 15. There's also one specific area of the game where the teleporting tube blinkers or save points were either on the map but not there in the room, or vice versa. I've documented all these and sent them to the developers, so hopefully they get them patched quickly. So would I recommend Genotype? Overall, yes, this gets a thumbs up from me. I typically prefer to play more single player narrative games, so this is right up my alley. There is no multiplayer here and no achievements or collectibles to grind for that will have you replaying the game multiple times. At $35, it's teetering on the high side of quest games, but frankly, I think we need to get away from expecting every VR game that's not a bigger title to cost $25 or less. I can name a dozen VR games I only played through one time that were shorter than Genotype around this price range, but still felt like I got my money's worth. At about 8 hours of gameplay, this is still longer than most story-based VR games, especially on the Quest platform. If you value high replayability, achievements, or stuff like procedurally generated content, just don't buy this game. It's that simple. I did leave a 25% off meta referral code for Genotype in the description, so please use that if you buy the game to help support the channel, and I will be giving away a copy of the game sometime in the next few weeks in my Discord. If this review was helpful, please let me know by tapping the like button. If you'd like to check out my review of another story-based game, Grad 2, click the video on the screen right now, and as always, thank you for watching.